oh, well, government, that's the way to do it. But it's like, okay, historically, when has that ever worked?
Like, the matter of personal choice, I do struggle with rationalizing in my head how there are people who have a problem with other people making choices for themselves.
Internal affairs of humans. Well, there is consensus is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how many people think a thing is or isn't. At the end of the day, what matters is what this one person thinks or feels.
If you want an abortion, if you know you can stomach it, because I'm not going to say anyone would ever enjoy it. If you know you can stomach it and you can make that decision, you should be able to. And if you can't, you're going to feel so much, like 10 times shittier.
Well, I guess it's on record now. The last thing I want is to die in a bed surrounded by a bunch of weeping, mourning people. No, I want to go out in a blaze of glory in a fighter jet or something like that.
That is that's so heartwarming, and I'm actually gonna cry. Like the fact that
I might too.
Welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy, where if you're watching, you're never drinking alone. I'm Casey Rochford, and if you like not drinking alone with us, go ahead and like and share, and definitely subscribe to the channel.
Hey, I could totally get behind that. I never thought about that. Hey, if I just watch all of our episodes, I'll never be drinking alone.
Exactly.
Hey.
So there's no shame.
Yeah,
exactly.
Break up. Hey, booty's down. Oh man.
Now collecting for the pool when and which one of us dies first from cirrhosis of the liver.
It's okay. We could just 3D print new ones. It's coming. Don't worry. It's all right. So I'm Eric Rosenblatt. Well, Casey and I, we write our own music here on Kitchen Sink Microscopy, and it's available out there on the interwebs, iTunes and Spotify and stuff. Stick around to the end of the show. Timestamp down there if you want to hear a new song or part of a new song.
Oh, future me is now reminding me, because you just reminded me, past me, to say that past me is just about to upload the next album, so future me needs to remember to say to past me now to say that when this episode comes out, we've just released a new album. Did everyone follow that?
Nice. What? So who's eating this chicken? Yeah, we got new music, a whole set of music, so go check it out. Now I've got a crushed can, but I'll deal with it and deal with the cat. So we also have a website, ksmvidcast.com. That's kind of our backup and our I don't know, disaster recovery location. Yeah, so
That's where we're hosting the only place we're hosting our Red Dwarf episode, actually.
Yep, because we're
because
beyond,
the BBC nixed it.
we're beyond the reach of most governments there, being hosted in Panama. Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Mm, mm. Okay. Cans don't work very well when they're crushed.
Well,
Just saying.
if you bite a can, there's probably going to be holes in it.
Well, it's not holes. It's that the flow gets all crazy.
Oh,
So I
like
got to go slow.
like drinking out of a horn. I got one of those back there.
Mhm.
You do that wrong, there's beer up your nose.
So Casey, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I was just helping my dad with some paperwork. Not particularly difficult paperwork in the sense of um oh, I need to go gather these documents, or oh, I have to think really hard about like some problem to solve or whatever. But it's difficult in the fact that you're deciding what happens when you're about to die. The whole end of life, uh, healthcare directives or living wills, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I got to thinking like there was one line as I was reading through the legalese that said, like, usually it's pretty ambiguous, but this was like, there will be in no way, shape, or form at any time, any point in which we legalize or, okay, assisted suicide or, euthanasia. And I was like, Jesus Christ, why? Like,
That's in the documents you had to sign?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm like maybe hyperbolizing a little bit, but like it was pretty cut and dry that they were like, we'll never ever be okay with. And I mean, I know they probably got to put that in there because people probably try to write it in, right? Like, just
Mhm.
help me die, you
Yeah.
know. But still, like, it begs the question: why is there so much pushback on that? And it kind of relates, and I'm sure we'll get into the whole Roe v. Wade thing.
Oh yeah.
Whichever end of your life we're talking about here,
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. That
or your potential life.
yeah. Man.
Lot of hot button in this one.
Oh yeah. I'll be surprised if we actually get, if you see ads in here, I will be shocked. Uh
Yeah.
Wish we had sponsors. Hey, any cool sponsors out there, some beer brewers or something like that,
Or just go to Patreon at least.
yeah, some cool tools or something like whatever, flashlights, pocket
That's pretty.
knives,
It's like
sponsor.
randomly specific things.
I'm just thinking of things that I'm into. I'd say guns, but you're not going to get that on YouTube. It, that is really, really interesting. So was this like a document penned by like who wrote the document? Is this like a government document or like a hospital
I think
document?
it's hospital. I'm not really sure because
Hmm.
it's it's something you'll probably more than likely ever really need in a hospital and nowhere else.
Oh, that's
But
true.
it's dealing with like legality and stuff. So I don't actually know who owns the document, if you will.
Hmm.
I That's a good question. I should try to figure that out.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if that particular clause that was inserted into the document was some kind of personal statement, like from people up in upper echelons of the company, or if it's something they're required to say.
I don't
Like,
know. Yeah, that's a good question. That would kind of, because it's written so that you're not really sure. It could be either.
hmm,
but depending on which one wrote it, like that subjectivity is more okay than here than it is there. You know, like if it's a private hospital or something and that's what they think, it's like, okay, they've got a little wiggle to say that. When it comes to a country, just declaring it,
Well,
like,
and
whoa,
and and
hit
that
the
actually,
brakes.
no, you're right. Like from a company standpoint, like I sure I it's their prerogative. They whatever they believe. But if it were a government statement saying, "Oh nope, we're never going to allow that," well, last I checked, the citizens of this country can vote on stuff and change things, change the game. So to say it could never happen is bogus.
Yeah.
Like, you lie. uh,
And maybe I misinterpreted it, but like the overall message isn't really far off from that.
mm-hmm.
It was pretty clear that that was not a thing you could ask for and ever hope to get.
Huh.
You can write it on there all you want, but we're not going to do it, is basically what they were saying.
And I think that's fair. Like, if they're not comfortable dealing with that, that's
But
okay.
how much of that is morality and how much do you think is just legal obligation that they're trying to avoid? That's what I
Both.
think it is.
It's both, really. Like to an extent, I think it's both. Uh, but oh man, I mean, assisted suicide, I think it's a bad rap. Like it. Yeah.
I don't know how many people are old enough to remember the Terry Schiavo case that was in the 90s.
Oh, I remember that.
She was so it created this nationwide discussion on what to do if you become placed into a vegetative state against your will and you didn't have some kind of contingency for that. Like, what's the right thing to do? Is it okay to pull the plug, or is that murder? And that's where like a lot of this really became like part of the conversation.
Well, and I
Around the same time there was Kevorkian.
Yep. Yeah.
And so like a lot of that was like really nobody used to think about this kind of thing. I mean, I guess I wasn't around way back, but
I mean, I'm sure they thought about it just in a different context. But the thing is, like, this is what I don't understand. Why is it, on one hand, totally okay for you to be in a vegetative state, in a coma or something for days, weeks, months, years, and then your family gets the final say to disconnect you from life support because, well, there's no hope? That's okay, according to societal tradition, I guess, in the US. But then on the other hand, you, as the person who owns yourself, cannot decide in advance what you would like to happen should that occur. Or should you just simply choose to, like, that cutoff point?
Well, you can choose, you just can't choose that. You get to choose whether or not you die with them trying to get you to like live some kind of life, or if you starve and you die of dehydration in whatever coma you're in, and then who can say whether or not you're going to suffer? Like, you have two suffering ways of dying that you get to pick,
but you
don't get to pick the quick way.
Yeah, you don't get to pick the way that would reduce suffering or eliminate it entirely. Like, while you're still healthy, there is no hope. You choose, hey, I would like an assisted suicide. Like, I'd like to die painlessly. I don't want to suffer for months on end, hooked up to a bunch of
Get you some
Gasmos.
Gasmos.
Yeah, exactly. Like a bunch of tubes and wires connected to you, and you're like gurgling all the time. Like, no, maybe you want to go out on your own terms. And that I don't understand. Like, why is there any contention there? It is your life is yours. It's not somebody else's. There is no one else that owns you, right? I mean, I thought slavery was gone.
Here's the question I have. If if you're allowed to say, I would like to stop chemotherapy and just die of cancer, if you're totally cool saying that, but you can't say, pull the plug, just let's just end this as quickly as possible, that's somehow different. I could argue that you're committing suicide if you stop a treatment that could save you, probably would save your life.
Yeah.
You know, if you stuck it out enough, and if you sacrificed enough, and if you had, you know, to live with enough disabilities or whatever, but you get to live, anything else is suicide, right?
Maybe
God, that was somewhat sarcastic in case no.
I get it. Ooh, man. Yeah, this is getting deep already.
Where do you draw the line at what suicide is, really?
Well, and what's wrong with saying, you know, I don't want to go through any of that? Like, maybe you do want to just stop your treatment because it's miserable, and you're just like, you know what, I'm done. Peace out. Like, that's your call, not anybody else's. It's your call as an individual. So okay, family, they're going to be unhappy about it. But then the thing is, they're going to be unhappy no matter what. Like, if you don't come out the other end, well, they're going to be unhappy regardless. So why not just,
if they want it to be legislated, why can't it just be that when you choose to sign up for an assisted suicide, you basically declare, in a legal sense, that you on behalf of your family and anyone that has any stake or interest in your, you know, whatever they call
life.
Yeah, like there's like a legal term for life, like estate. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, barring any of that, like
that does, okay.
You indemnify like everybody. Like, it's nobody's fault for physically pulling the plug or stopping the treatment or whatever it is, or putting a pill over your face. However your life comes to an end, if there's a finger to point at it, you declare, no, this was me.
Well, and if you decide you want to do that, then that's it. Like, if you ask for assistance, that doesn't mean the person assisting you is a party to it. That you're the one that made the decision. You could, like, okay. Oh, I'm getting pumped up now.
Yeah.
So you're the one that made the decision. You don't want to go on anymore for whatever reason. I mean, I think it's valid, especially when you have a terminal illness that science and medicine can't fix. And you're just going to slowly waste away and deal with incomprehensible pain for God knows how long. And maybe you just don't want to, you're just, nope, that's it, I'm done. Like, what is wrong with choosing the option to do it painlessly, like I guess a lethal injection or something like that? So you kind of just go out,
the least amount of pain possible.
Well, yeah, because look, you've decided this. So whether it's a lethal injection or some kind of new tech sort of solution, or just a revolver to the head, like, you're gonna do it. It's on you, not anybody else. Yeah. So I don't know why people freak out about that. I mean, there was a time back in Japanese society when like suicide was seen as kind of noble.
Seppuku?
Yeah.
Like you failed your duty.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically your honor to take your life in reverence for your failure to the the nation or whatever. Like
Yeah, to
there
your
was
society. Yeah.
it's all perspective. Suicide could be honorable. Suicide, well, Star Trek even touched on this.
Uh-huh. Of course they did.
Yeah, like it's all a cultural perspective about suicide. So really we should not be imposing our cultural view on the entire country. Just like we're not supposed to do that with religion.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I don't know that there is such a thing as like a collective cultural view. It's individualistic. Like everybody has their own story, their own experiences, the things that mold them into who they are. And for you as another individual to impose your own experiences onto another person, well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be doing that.
I think it's more like a culture almost does form this cloud of ideas where you down here in your own head have your own ideas and opinions about everything. Everything's dichotomous. It's like this or that, a series of those decisions. But like the cloud contains like people talking about what they think and seeing where the majority is going and wanting to adjust your opinion to fit in with the majority. Like, do that many of us actually, like in this day and age, think that assisted suicide is like a bad thing? Or does our culture just tell us it is? Because we did not used to have ways of prolonging life. We didn't have to think about this really. Like, what do you do if it takes you 30 years to die?
Well, and no, you're totally right that technology has extended life and allowed us to live in ways that it wasn't possible before. Like, back in the day, if you lived on a farm, as most people did, agrarian cultures and stuff like that, if one of your animals was injured critically, well, it was the whole like take it out back behind the shed and shoot it in the head. Yeah. Like, and why did people do that? It wasn't because they were evil.
Compassion.
It was. It's like end the suffering. Like that was okay. It was okay to do that, and it should be okay to do that now.
Yeah, nobody has a smile on their face when they're doing that.
No.
Like, no, it's just hard. It's like, oh my God, I'm losing a cherished member of my family in some cases.
Same thing like putting a pet down, a cat or a dog or something. That like this
and abortion. Animal, like nobody wants to get an abortion. That's a horribly emotional. Like, I mean, we'll get into that later. But
we will.
It's I think they're connected. Like everybody knows it sucks. It's just you need to have the right to do these things because when the chips are down, like when there's a place where you probably can't even imagine because you've never even been close to being put in that position. I don't know. Compassion, people. That's all you need.
Exactly. And a lot of people who pass judgment on other people for doing these things they don't like have never had to go through that. Like they've never had to go through any of that stuff. And yet they're the ones deemed by society as the authoritative authority. Oh God. The redundant Department of Redundancy, I guess there. But like just because a bunch of people say things or think things doesn't make it the correct thing, I guess. Yeah. And I think this goes into all the other stuff we're going to talk about.
That's true, and also not true. It's also one of those things that, like, every so often it might align, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really definitively say with 100% assurance whether going with the majority is the right thing or just letting people do what they want to do is the right thing. Well, sometimes either one is going to be right, and
that's true. That's true. But by default, a whole bunch of people thinking a thing doesn't make it true.
It doesn't make it true. No.
And especially
it makes it palatable.
Well, sure. And when it comes to matters of things like mathematics or science or engineering or something, like, okay, consensus does make sense. But when it comes to your own self, like what you want, I can't count the number of times people have told me what I'm thinking. And I'm like,
oh no,
the fuck? I am not thinking that. Why? Where did you even get that from?
Or like, why would you even purport to know what someone else is thinking?
Exactly. Unless you're like, you've got a neural link or something and you're connected to somebody else's mind.
People fancy themselves mentalists or something.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But that's the whole problem is, like, when it comes to personal matters, internal affairs of humans, well, there is consensus is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how many people think a thing is or isn't. At the end of the day, what matters is what this one person thinks or feels. That's it. Like that's end game right there.
Pretty much. I mean, and therein you've got religion and politics.
Yeah.
Both of them were like one or a small group of people passing down this edict of moral truth. And basically like laying it on thick for everybody to be like, have that societal pressure of like, oh yes, this is the way, you know, almost like Mandalorians that are, this is the way, you know, like you're just fucking hypnotized and brainwashed and shit into having an opinion that you might not actually have. Like, imagine that. Imagine discovering you have an opinion that you're not allowing yourself to express. Like, you're impeding on your own rights and freedom.
And it's problematic too, because if you have this kind of revelation, a self-discovery revelation, speaking it to other people,
get out of the program quick now and hit close on that.
Oh god, I got it.
What were we talking about? I don't know. There was just like a weird blip in time.
But having a difference of opinion, like realizing that it's not really societally acceptable to express that, but yet that is the one thing that we need, is everybody who feels what they feel to express what they feel, so that we get like a proper I don't know, I don't want to say consensus, but like kind of a understanding of well, the general sense of what people think.
It's more data. That's all it is. More data points is a good thing. Whether or not you get a consensus that you might like or dislike, you know, a lot of that is just going to be, it's all statistics, really. You know, it's all these calculations to see how sure you can be. Like, statistics is all about saying, like, what's a level of acceptable?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's never black and white.
No, it's shades of gray, essentially. And I'm not talking 50 shades. Don't keep your mind out of the gutter, bitches.
And if you think about it, we even thinking the middle is the right place to be is a cultural sort of persuasion too, I think.
Yeah,
How do you
exactly.
know the middle is right?
Well, and okay, well, I would ask the question, where the hell is the middle?
Mm-hmm.
Define the middle. Um,
And this is getting meta.
it, it's about to get more meta too. Yeah. Oh man. It. Oh shit. Well, hold on. There's too many thoughts now. Um.
It's like that's why I think it's so easy to group people into this concept of left and right and middle politically.
Well, and people tend to group themselves into that, and this is what I'm talking about. Is this expectation of like conformity? Like you have to be part of a tribe. You got to be one of these groups or something like that. No, you don't have to be shit. None of it matters. Like everybody has a myriad of opinions and thoughts about all kinds of things, and you're one of them. And everybody's pretty unique in that regard. There don't have to be categories, or wait, doesn't have to be categories. Hang on a minute, grammar.
Wow, how did we get here from ending life?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I had a bunch of more.
I guess it's the middle to talking about ending life before it's begun.
Yeah.
If it even would go full term. You don't know that. There's a lot of miscarriages. There's a lot of ectopic pregnancy. Well, you may or may not think it's okay to terminate that because you have no mercy for the mother or the infant that you claim you had mercy for. Just saying. If we want to like boil this shit down to the nitty gritty, yeah.
And can I get before we get too far into this, because I think we're gonna go down into the weeds here. A lot of the things, with abortion and assisted suicide and stuff, people get really emotional about something that isn't them. It isn't you. It's not your own experience. You're getting emotional for another, like by proxy, essentially.
Yeah. They're thinking personally. They're thinking, what if it was my unborn child? But they're not drawing the lines up the spine of the matter, right? Like if that's the case, and your particular position is against abortion, you wouldn't be getting into that position ever. Whether by force or by choice, you would not probably be in that position ever. Yeah. It's like in your personal world, a concept like abortion has zero fucking impact on you, depending on how much you give a shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically I'm just saying calm your tits. Like, well, it's only a big deal because you make it a big deal.
It's very similar to assisted suicide. Like the people want, okay, yes, life is precious. We should preserve it. But because life is precious,
whenever possible.
Well, but because life is precious, we should also respect the wishes of a living person who might have
to be like, okay, I'm done. I don't want off the ride.
They might think otherwise. Like, hey, you know what? I don't want to go through all this cancer shit. I saw my grandpa go through this. I'd rather just like die before it happens because we haven't fixed it yet. So
yeah, and that's a very personal
there's nothing
choice.
Wrong with that.
Like, you should get to pick what quality of life you have. If you cannot meet a certain bar for what you need to want to keep breathing in and out, you should be allowed to like cut things off at that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No matter what stage you're in. And oh man, I think
The same argument for the protection of your own life. If you think about it, like, why is that an inherent human right, but granting that same inherent human right to other people, that's what you're fighting? Like,
well, yeah, that should okay. Definitely, like there should be some kind of consistency, logical consistency there. Yeah. So, and it is kind of ironic that a lot of the people who are in favor of self-defense, well, by and large, I don't want to pigeonhole people, but it does kind of seem like a lot of the two-way self-defense people are kind of not really on board with people being autonomous in any other way. And that bothers me. Like,
yeah, that's wow. Yeah, that's a great observation. Interesting. Huh. Like that should go viral. Like, that is an excellent point. Like, how can you be all about like protecting yourself with guns, but it's not not okay to say I'm protecting myself from this fetus that might kill me,
or a terminal illness?
Exactly. Like, you would go shoot your horse in the head, but you won't let your grandpa pull the plug. Why are you showing more compassion to your horse than your grandpa?
Damn, that's
okay. I don't want to call them like one better than the other. I mean, maybe you love your horse more, and that's valid. Like, animals are more awesome than humans, but
well, some are. Some. It depends. It depends on the animals and the humans. Sure.
I mean,
capybaras, by the way, are the fucking tits. I want the capybara as a pet.
If you were gonna save me or Floyd in a fire, which one would you pick? I mean, you'd go for Floyd.
Well, because I could pick him up. But
yeah. You rationalize it how you want.
Okay, no, I would pick him up.
You could also ride your horse out of the burning barn. So, like, you can rationalize it any way you want. You like the animal better.
I would pick him up and I'd pick you up at the same time and carry you out.
No, one of your arms burned off.
Oh, no, wait.
Like Darth Vader.
Hold on a second. Is this like the what's that Carl Sagan thing that you did about the dragon? Just like moving the goalpost now. Oh, wait, your arm burned off. Well, then I have a robotic arm. Hey, all right.
I'm technically not moving the goalpost. The edict was you can only do this or that, and there has to be some reason you can only do this or that. You lost an arm.
Okay. Well,
I see how it looks like moving the goalposts. I'm just moving it back to regulation.
Well, I would have to. It's kind of like the trolley problem. Like, I'd have to analyze like what is possible in the moment, in the few seconds that I have. Like, who can I save? A cat is obviously very easy to pick up. A human, not so much so. Anybody who's tried to do that, it's very difficult.
Well, I was trying to say that this was leading us to the conclusion that sometimes it's quite easy to make that decision, but then it got all esoteric, and I was like, well, maybe it's actually really difficult to make all these decisions.
Well, and I have a problem with people who talk shit about people who have like milliseconds to make a decision, and they do, and maybe it's the wrong one. Ultimately, hindsight, it turns out to be the wrong decision, and then people judge them as if, well, you should have known better. Well, okay, put yourself in that position. You would not have had any more tools than I did going into that situation. So, maybe before we pass judgment, we should stop and think and be thoughtful. Like, consider all the variables as much as possible. It's so easy to snap judge people. Well, that's politics too. Hmm. Man.
Yeah, I had a thought and I forgot it. It was based on something you just said, and I was just watching another episode of ours before uploading it, and it reminded, like, something I said in that episode reminded me of something that I wanted to say just now, but I forgot it again.
Oh shit! Is it the sex work episode?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. It's gone.
I was gonna go all con voice and be like, I will give you 60 seconds.
But I mean, it's funny to think how the two are actually very connected. You're talking about one end of what we call life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the time it begins or the time it ends. And there is a bit of hypocrisy in not only what people see as being an okay cap to an end that somebody chooses. I don't know, there's like the flip side where there's like conflating ideas of how bad some of these situations are, or if they're bad at all. Like, there's a shit ton of subjectivity to take into account with this.
Oh, there is. Like, on both ends of that spectrum. We did.
I mean, the
early days.
The more subjective it is, the less legislature it should have.
Yes, I was gonna get into that.
Like, that's pretty simple, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you want to like draw it in any way that anybody can understand, I think that's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm probably gonna go on a rant about that at some point, but I will restrain myself for now. But yeah, it's very subjective. There are no black and white lines in any of that. Like, it comes down to your own personal experience. And for somebody on the outside to take their own personal experience and apply it to another person, well, it dismisses that other person's life. And well, you might as well be putting a bullet in their head at that point. Whatever you've experienced and thought doesn't matter. It's only what I care about that matters. That's wrong. Man.
Yeah. Like, the matter of personal choice, I do struggle with rationalizing in my head how there are people who have a problem with other people making choices for themselves. Like,
yeah,
that's what it really is in a nutshell.
I agree. And
it's people making their own decisions about their lives, and other people getting pissed about what those people are doing with their lives. It impacts them zero. Absolutely zero.
Yes. Yep. And a lot of the people who are judging those people, well, I would argue like all of them, I guess. I mean, statistically, all of them don't really know the story behind a person, and they don't really care. They just have their boxes that they look in and look for things and pass judgment and make decisions and leverage the state to do their bidding for reasons unknown. Like, I don't understand why anybody cares what anybody else is doing. Doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you want to get an abortion or end your life or live your life or whatever, like, who fucking cares? It's not anybody else's business. It's your business. Like, Jesus. Ugh.
Episode topics like this make me super libertarian. Like I like to say all the time that like I see my politics on more of a like 4-dimensional scale. So like I don't really like to call myself any one thing, but like when there are certain topics, I can see myself as like super fucking liberal or maybe a little conservative here. Like I'm dead on like libertarian on this one.
Yeah.
Like, if you want an abortion, if you know you can stomach it, because I'm not going to say anyone would ever enjoy it. If you know you can stomach it and you can make that decision, you should be able to. And if you can't, you're going to feel so much like 10 times shittier.
I wholeheartedly agree. And really the only roadblock is society.
Yeah. Letting people get abortions is reducing their suffering in so much as the suffering of the lives that they're mercy killing, if you will. Like, it's arguable if you can even call it killing, but they're basically saying like, I can't give you the life you need, or you'll die in 30 seconds in a horrible way. The only reason for bringing you to that last agonizing 30 seconds is my own selfish needs. Well, you know, when you think about it like that, maybe your opinions might start to change on the matter.
That's a good point. And I would argue it is killing. I mean, destruction of life, that's a thing. But
well, at the risk of sounding like Monty Python, is every sperm sacred?
No, and that is where this is where gray areas come in. Like, I think, I don't really know. I mean, sure, there is life, human life, early on. I mean, it depends on your definition, of course, because, you know, if you extracted the cells that are replicating in your uterus and just threw them out there, would somebody be like, oh, that's a human? They'd be like, oh my God, that's horrifying. What the hell is that? It's like some kind of monster.
Well, like, I mean, that's a good point about perception too. It's like there are people who would, like you and I, neither of us would really deny that that could become a human. There's a great potential for that to happen.
Sure.
But like, that doesn't negate the fact that there might be a greater potential to prevent that from happening. You know, on the other end of the scale, and you can't really fight the scale on this. Like, it's going to vary. It's not like because for the last 50 years we've had Roe v. Wade, it's not like people were like, I'm just going to get an abortion because I didn't plan this. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, this is a miracle, and you know, like nobody's forcing abortions is the point.
Well, no, and
it's not like every birth has to be an abortion unless
no,
it's designed by God or something.
And it's an option, and it's an option that should exist. I'm about to like go on a rant here, but
well, and
the thing is, like, okay, sure, back in the day, the epic court case, Roe versus Wade, yielded what we have today. And what you're saying about like, oh, because it's an option, everybody's going to choose it. That was the assumption. But yet people are still having kids. Like a lot of people have kids. A lot of people even have kids and give them up for adoption. And adoption is fucking awesome. Might be a better choice, especially if you have moral views there.
But not necessarily a better choice every time than abortion, because there's a lot of kids that aren't being adopted. So,
well, and it depends where on the planet you live too. There are places where
for humans, supply and demand. Holy shit.
Oh, damn. Well,
I just started thinking like there's like all this surplus. What's going on? Like, what's happening with the currency here?
Oh,
ooh, fuck.
Oh, well, that
I'm adopted. Am I inflation?
Oh. Oh man. Well, and to all those people who are getting all bent out of shape over this whole Supreme Court leak regarding Roe versus Wade, well, that's what you get when you allow government to control your life. Like, the thing is,
but nothing's going to happen, and it's because we control the government with our culture. Like all of this buildup and this drama and hyperbole is actually signaling to the government how pissed off we'll be if they do a thing.
Oh yeah.
So in that way, we actually use that culture cloud to control the controller, to watch the watcher. We actually do move the government by
who watches the watchers. Well,
now I see now I actually kind of get Elon Musk's point about Twitter. I kind of actually get it now.
Well, oh wait, hold on. I had a thought, but I lost it too. Wait, hold on. Yeah, too much beer.
What?
It's okay.
Send it down to the long-term memory banks for a second there. And well, I had a thought earlier. Another reason why allowing someone to pick when they end their life, or even when they have their abortion, is the psychological compassion. Like, think how many people wanted that goodbye. How heavy that is. How that'll live with you till you die. Like, that is psychological torture on survivors.
Well,
right? And if you gave somebody an option to say, I would like to collect my family and friends and say my last goodbyes, so they each have closure with me. How amazing, how would that have impacted our lives if we almost always got to go say goodbye?
Well, and closure is an important thing for humans. Like, the unexpected. Somebody, mind that bus, what bus splat. That really fucks people up. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So having something that's predictable, because, well, life is actually inherently unpredictable. So having something you can decide on to like share with your friends and family. Like, I mean, I don't think we have to go all Logan's Run necessarily in this regard, but there's value in that.
Welcome to
another
kitchen. What?
I was gonna say, you always start with like a song.
Oh wait, let me get rid of this recording nonsense that was like making you look like you were wearing a mask. Like Wilson from Home Improvement. There were not enough Wilson from Home Improvement memes when masks were like
I know.
like
Howdy neighbor. Oh wait, howdy neighbor.
like, right? Yeah. Like, that's the obvious one, but
I know. Missed opportunity.
You know what? I'm gonna get pretty raw here. I'm already tearing up thinking about this, but I knew Jeff was going to kill himself. He talked about it openly with his friends. Like at first we thought he was joking. We all had a pretty morose sense of humor. And then it became evident. Yeah, it then became evident he was really talking. Like he started giving his possessions to us. Like there were like little rituals, and you know, he would say, I wanted you to have this because I know like this has a passionate meaning to you. It like speaks to you. Like he was showing me how much he saw me and giving me something of his worldly possessions before departing. Like that is that's so heartwarming, and I'm actually gonna cry. Like the fact
I
that
might too.
I got to share that like with the dude I was friends with for like 3 years, but 20 plus years later, like it's bringing me to tears. Like the fact that I got to say goodbye to him. Whew, like the night he died, he was drinking with us, and he just said, "Hey, all right, see you later." Like it was nothing. But you know what? Like better that than tripping over his dead body somewhere. You know?
Yeah.
Like, whew. Need a minute.
Oh God.
See how fucking powerful that is? Like, why would you make somebody go through the torture of losing somebody with no notice? You know, like you don't know when it's coming. But if you get to say goodbye, like don't discount how important that is.
I would argue that is the most important thing, and Jeff gave that to everybody. Like
that dude was fucking brilliant for 19. Holy shit. Like he really, like, he's the reason I became an atheist. He made the most sense. Like even in his death, he knew what the fuck he was doing. Like, and you know what? Like that may sound flippant, like I'm talking about suicide, like it's just, you know, another choice, but it really, that's all it is.
It really is.
Anything we do could be, oh, flick the lights off, you're dead. Like you didn't turn the water off and your apartment flooded and you drowned.
You go for a drive and you get in a car accident.
It's so random. Like, we're gonna die. Like, what the fuck, you know? Like,
and I think maybe that's what's behind a lot of this is that fact. As humans, we know we're mortal. We're all gonna die, and people want to cling to that. And when there are people who are rogues, who do something different, well, you know, people don't like that. They want things to be the way comfortable, I guess. But death is not comfortable, but it's inevitable.
Yeah, and the way I see it, if there's a way that you can find meaning in that pain or dull that pain or
or
whatever.
or like change somebody, like make an impact. Like I that's something to me that I think like well, this is exactly why I almost signed up for the Ukrainian Foreign Legion. Like, fight for what you believe in, put your money where your mouth is.
Go out with meaning.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because the last thing I want, and well, I guess it's on record now. The last thing I want is to die in a bed surrounded by a bunch of weeping, mourning people. No, I want to go out in a blaze of glory in a fighter jet or something like that.
I
Like
mean,
explosions and stuff.
that's another thing. Like compassion for the way the person wants to be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just like, I mean, there's celebrities where I'm like, I feel like that person died, and I might be right, but I also might be wrong, and they're still alive. And it's like, when you're that far removed, you're flippant about it. But like, for the people that are close to that, the way they want to be remembered by their loved ones, um, to have like punctuation on it would allow for that memory to sustain for that much longer.
Yeah.
Like when something happens out of your reach, or you weren't there to say goodbye or something, like that might feel disconnected to you. And through no fault of your own or anything like that, but you might feel that less. And while I'm arguing for like more pain, it might be good to like really feel each loss.
Mm-hmm.
If that really makes sense, because like it's so impactful. Like you have to, like just now, like I started like almost crying because I've had over 20 years of trying to like rationalize that shit, but it's probably sitting with me better than other people who lost friends or family to suicide.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, that's a personal journey. And you should, if you can recognize that you would want that, why wouldn't other people want that?
Oh,
So calm your tits.
that's a really good point. Well, and kind of going back to the whole like Roe v. Wade thing. Because I feel like this is kind of connected. Um,
It is.
the the biggest problem is people deferring to government to solve their problems. Like, okay, government is not going to solve your problems. It's a bureaucracy. It's full of a bunch of people in ivory towers. They don't care about you at all. So don't care about them. Start from that. But I guess I'm okay. I'm gonna have to go on a rant. Government has no business in anyone's personal lives, their homes, their thoughts, their bedroom, what tools they own, what they choose to put into their bodies, or what they take out of them. They have no authority to dictate what people do with their lives and themselves.
Mm.
But yet, everybody seems to think, oh, well, government, that's the way to do it. But it's like, okay, historically, when has that ever worked? Like, when has that ever worked? like, uh,
I don't know that anything ever works 100% anyway. So
No, it's true, but the thing is, like, people, it becomes like a religion. Like, people feel so strongly that, like, this is the solution. Like, you need legislation to do this or do that. Like, oh, the border and LGBTQ things and stuff. And like,
all
but
things we made up.
yeah, exactly. Like, but it hasn't fixed one singular problem. One ever. I mean, maybe, well, we did go to the moon in the 60s, but hey, were you born in 1969? Maybe you saw government working once.
Well, I mean, people might point to like public services like libraries and stuff, but now you see these like neighborhood libraries and
Yep.
stuff like that. Although, I will say, you're not going to find like, you're not going to have a place to go to find rare things, right? Like, and that's how education is formed, right? Like, your ability to find the shoulders of the giants allows you to build upon them.
Yeah.
So to like have them coalesced in one place that everyone knows where to find them, like that's probably the birth of the best argument for government.
Well,
Is at that moment.
I mean, kind of. The thing is, most libraries back in the day were funded by wealthy individuals who wanted to give back to the community in which they were born. It wasn't
But if they moved in some like circuitous way, like as a collective, I'm willing to call that a government effect.
Well, and yeah, okay, no, I would. I'm okay.
I mean, right? Like philosophically, like it's no different.
I'm okay with people doing things for the good of humanity or something like that. I just don't like the fact that governments have violent authority. The essentially, they can initiate force against people for reasons.
That is fucked up. And I think the key to separating that is to think like, if you lead with fear, you'll have more loyalty, but is it genuine loyalty? But if you lead by example, then you see loyalty and you know it's legitimate because you've really put your money where your mouth is.
That's a good point. Oh man.
So like from that point, you have the birth of a well-run government or a shitty run government, which more often than not has been spitting out the shitty run government.
Yes. Huh. Oh man. Solving problems.
Heavy beer.
Nope. Gonna have to open another one now.
It's cultivating thoughts in my head.
Yeah. Oh shit. We
like this is actually like probably one of the best episodes. Like the shit we've touched on. Man, there's gonna be like little viral video clips of this episode, I swear. Like damn.
And I don't feel like we've gone deep enough.
Like 5,000 years from now, this is the shit people are gonna find and be like, Socrates.
Yes.
Look at this quaint little chip with terabytes of memory.
Oh, I remember a terabyte. Ooh.
It's infinitesimally small. Oh, wow. But oh, these divine philosophers of yore, they,
Oh,
they be
man.
spitting, yo.
Oh, shit. Well, I think we're about like an hour in now, so maybe we can stop. I mean,
Yeah, all good things come to an end.
well, and you know, good things are circles, so yeah,
And circles are good things.
we'll come back to it. If it's worthy, we'll come back to it. And this episode, like, holy shit, wow. We touched on so much. Well,
Yeah.
but I kind of feel like we didn't really talk about the core, but that's okay. We'll come back to it.
The core?
Yeah, we'll come back to it. It's all right.
Now I'm intrigued.
It's
a cliffhanger.
Well, that's the best. You know, in stage shows, leave them hanging. Do you want to come out and take a bow a second time, or just disappear behind the curtain? So, yeah. Oh, man.
Well, before it sounds like we're trying to escape a crime scene.
Wait.
Thanks for deep sink diving with us into the assessment in the negation of what we call life.
Yeah, that's just about all the time we have for today.
Sway out with the sultry tunes of ALTAiR. Coming at you on 99.9.34 KSM.